G'day, Starlo here. For the past couple of months I've been involved in a really interesting journey exploring the world of Euro-nymphing for trout, also known as Czech nymphing, Polish nymphing, French nymphing. This style of fishing involves the use of very fine tippets attached to long leaders. In fact, the leaders get so long that ultimately there's little or even no fly line outside the tip of the rod when the flies are being presented. Obviously, this poses some challenges in terms of casting because the only weight that you can use to get the fly out there is the fly itself. Now, luckily, the most popular forms of fly for this style of fishing are small, heavily weighted nymphs, often with tungsten beads, tungsten being much heavier for its size than lead. So that allows you to flick these flies out there, especially if you use a longer than normal fly rod with a very light, sensitive tip. Euro-nymphing is very much a short line fishing technique. Most of the fishing takes place within about 10 meters of where you're standing. That's one of the things I really like about it because it teaches you to get closer to the fish. Now, once the fly or flies are in the water, you use that long, light, sensitive rod to keep as much line up out of the water as you possibly can. Ideally, the only thing that's submerged is that fairly long, fine tippet, which is really, really skinny and has virtually no drag. Above it in the air is the butt of your leader and something called a sighter, which is a brightly coloured, maybe even bicoloured or tricoloured length of line that is effectively your indicator. The whole rig is so sensitive that not only is it possible to visually detect bites, but you'll often feel them through the rod itself. Now, I can't stress just how important it is to use the finest possible tippet that you can get away with in this style of fishing, because that's what produces that natural drift of the fly. The skinny tippet cuts down through the water better, it's got a lot less drag on it, and the fly behaves like something just drifting along with the stream. So the fans of Euro-nymphing tend to talk about the diameters of their tippets rather than the rated breaking strains, and a lot of them use the old X rating system for the strength of the tippet, where the higher the number in front of the X, the finer the tippet is. So 1X is really thick, 7X is really, really thin. For most Australian conditions, a lot of anglers prefer 5X and 6X tippets. They're anywhere from about 0.12 millimeters up to about 0.15 millimeters in diameter, with a rated breaking strain of anything between about 3.5 and 5 pounds, depending on what the manufacturers want to put on the spool. So it's pretty light. Now, do you need to go that light? The answer is yes, and the finer you can go, the more bites you're going to get and the more trout you're going to hook. Whether you land them, well, that's another thing. Okay, but enough of the theory. Let's get out there on the water and actually go Euro-nymphing and catch some trout. Once you're on the stream, so much of Euro-nymphing is about line control, reading the water, and working to repeat those natural drifts with just your fine tippet submerged, all while watching that leader butt and sighter like a hawk. Concentration is essential. If you keep doing this, you'll eventually either see or feel a take and lift to set the hook into a fish. And regardless of its size, I guarantee you'll feel a surge of pure elation at having cracked the code. You're now well on your way to mastering at least the basics of what's possibly the deadliest fly presentation ever developed for flowing water. Sure, you'll catch plenty of small fish, but as you'll see in a minute, you'll also find the bigger ones. I'm slowly starting to come to terms with the unusual casting style. Got to really make an oval, come through underneath, over the top, maintain contact with the fly the whole time, keep a tight line. It's like a sort of a modified Belgian or oval cast. Interesting. The casting style and line control required to successfully Euro-nymph are greatly aided by the use of a longer rod with a very light tip. Reel choice is less critical, but a fully enclosed cage is a big plus to prevent that skinny line from getting trapped between the spool and the frame. The flies, as mentioned, are mostly small, fairly heavy nymphs with tungsten beads tied on jig-style hooks that ride point up to reduce snagging. These flies imitate the most abundant food sources found in our streams, things like these little mayfly nymphs crawling around on the underside of a river rock. Successful flies usually only need to give a vague impression of these tasty morsels to get eaten, if they drift naturally with the current. Metallic beads may mimic little air bubbles, and that point-up attitude in the water greatly reduces snags. Once the fly is in the stream, the rod's lifted to keep the leader butt and its brightly coloured sighter up out of the water. Ideally, you want just that skinny tippet below the surface with the fly drifting naturally and your eyes glued to the leader butt, watching for any unnatural movement. Work every likely looking run and lie, taking a step upriver after each couple of casts to keep covering new water. Like I said, line control's really important. Strip line to remove slack, but not so much that you're dragging or accelerating the drifting fly. You just want a small amount of slack in your leader butt. Once you get it right, it's an incredibly effective method for catching trout in streams.
Love this heavy broken stuff.
Trout will often hold in even the fastest water, using current breaks provided by rocks to maintain their position. You need to get your fly down in front of them. If you do, success will come.
Oh, yes. He's a little brownie too, I think. He was in that heavy water. Really easy to see the takes in that fast stuff too. The line just jolts back upstream. A pretty little brownie. Gorgeous. And I think there's going to be more fish in there. Alright.
When you locate a productive lie, expect to find more than one trout. Some spots hold multiple fish.
Oh, felt that one. He absolutely tugged on it. How I missed that, I don't know.
Concentrate really hard on every drift, but accept the fact that you won't hook them all.
Ooh, that felt like a bite too. Oh! Absolutely hammered it. Come on, what are you doing? Got him. There's a load of fish in here. You would never know they were there with anything other than Euro-nymphing gear. Oh, nice release. Very, very hard to fish it as well with any other kind of gear. Oh, there's another one. Oh, I'm on a hat trick. Woo! Rainbow, lovely fish. Wet my hand. Come on, mate, settle down. Good. Released himself from the barbless hook. Okay, on a hat trick. Let's see if we can do it. No.
But a few casts later I was on again, and this was obviously a much better trout.
Nice fish.
I was clearly going to have to chase this one downstream on the ultralight 6X tippet. You can't rush these better fish, especially in any sort of current. Let your smooth, lightly set drag and that long, light rod work their magic.
a lovely fish. £2. It's going to be tricky there. No, it's not quite as big as I thought. Nice keeper though.
Back up to my run, and I was straight into another good fish. As they often do, this one held briefly in the flow and even headed upstream a bit before turning and bolting downstream, choosing a narrow, rocky chute as its escape route.
Down he goes. Oh my God, this is a big rainbow. You're gonna have to chase him on the 6X tippet. Oh, he's a good fish. Just stay on, eh? Oh, he's going back up now. Don't go back up in there. There's too many rocks and things. No, don't go back up through that chute. Oh, this is such a nice fish. I'd really like to get this one. Soft hands. You need soft hands. Tiny hook, 6X tippet. It's about 3.5 pound breaking strain. Oh no, there's a big tree down there.
You can't see it because of the glare, but there's a massive log with extended branches submerged on the end of the pool, and the fish has my line really close to it. Low rod angles and side strain are the best way to keep pressure on a hooked fish with this gear, and patience is a virtue.
Such a strong fish. Why wouldn't you be sitting in that current all day long? This is certainly my best fish so far on the Euro-nymph. I'm a long way from getting him though. I wouldn't mind getting down a bit further, but there's a big tree here. See if I can get past it. There we go. Oh, he's gone back out into the current. Oh, it's heart in mouth stuff. Please stay on. Really rather he didn't jump now. Reach for my net. Oh, I did it. Whew. It's not quite as big as I thought it was. Oh, I've got a very dry mouth after that fight. Oh, it's too much fun. I'll give you a look at him. Looks like a nice buck. I just broke the fly off, I think. Oh no, it's still on. Look at it just there. Let's have a proper look at him. Beautiful fish. I'm going to keep that one. Nothing wrong with keeping the odd rainbow to eat.
And would you believe I walked back up to the head of that same pool and hooked up again on almost my very next cast?
Oh, he's around a rock. To go out and see. It's all right. He's off the rock. He's off the rock. He's going down this side.
And I'm off on another chase. This fight followed almost exactly the same pattern as the previous one.
Stay in the water, stay in the water. Down here somehow. Yeah, that wasn't so hard. Now, see if I can get my net without it getting tangled up. Yep, it's all looking good. Don't count your chickens. Lovely fish. Bit dubious about pulling him back against the current on that skinny leader.
Check out how much water I've covered. That's where I hooked him, about 100 metres back upriver.
There we are, in the net. Very nice.
Next day, in bright, windy conditions, Gary and I found some very fishy-looking gorge country at the end of a long hike. This water appeared extremely promising, and I wasn't too surprised when Gaz hooked into a real bruiser of a rainbow.
Woo! You'll have to go with him. Oh, you won't hold him on. Oh, you might get him in that backwater there. What a cracking fish! That's it. Keep him in that back. Oh, nah, you'll have to go. You'll have to go with him.
It was a nerve-wracking encounter in the fast, rocky runs, but Gaz kept his cool, and ultimately he came out on top.
What a rewarding experience these last few days have been on the water. I literally feel like every hour I spend out there with the Euro-nymphing gear in my hand, I'm learning something. It's a fantastic way to catch trout. I've literally lost count of how many trout I've caught across the last 3 days. Sure, lots of little ones, but also some really nice fish. Caught them under bright sunny skies, in calm conditions, in windy conditions, under clouds. It's just a wonderful way to target trout in streams. If you've been thinking about having a crack at it, give it a go. It's too much fun. Until next time, this is Starlo wishing you tight lines.